Welcome, everybody, to Triple Threat. What's up, Hoopers? You know the deal. I'm Ashley Nicole Moss, and D-Day has officially come and gone. And no, it is not the NBA trade deadline. It is the day that Jimmy Butler returned to the 305, except it was a lot of talk and not a lot of walk. And we'll dive into that a lot more when my guests come and join me. But I just have to say, I equated Jimmy Butler returning to Miami like you returning to a space that you know your ex was going to be at, or running into your ex, if you will. You walk in there knowing you're in a better situation and your ex is miserable and not flourishing without you. You're supposed to have an extra pep in your step, which Jimmy did. I will give him that. He did a lot of talking. It was a lot of sound bites. He was in Miami with Draymond Green at Calle Ocho playing dominoes. He was living the life stress-free. And even during the tribute video, he looked unmoved. He was like, whatever, Pat Riley better not say anything to me because I'm not going to say anything to him. But then the time came to actually play basketball. And that's where Jimmy did not pass the test. Let me give you some advice from someone who I guess you can say is a little petty, just likes to get her lick back, if you will. If you know that you're going to run into your ex or you're going to see that person, you got to make sure, like I said, you're on your P's and Q's, especially if you have been talking all this mess about them leading up to that very meeting. Jimmy, 11 points? That is not what you do. You failed the test, Jimmy. It doesn't matter if you were talking all that talk, because when the time came for you to do what you needed to do on the court, you fell short. And then you walked off the court and didn't shake hands. You didn't even look at your old bench once. You only said hi to Kevin Love, which we need to dive deeper into that relationship, because I want to know why it was only Kevin Love who got the love, no pun intended, from Jimmy Butler. What's going on there? And what's your beef with the actual team? Like, Pat Riley I can get. Eric Spoelstra I can even get. The front office I can get. But the guys wearing the same jersey as you, they have no say-so in the matter. We'll dive into that maybe a little bit later. But I just have to say, Jimmy, I'm very disappointed with that performance. I expect you to go in there and just impose your dominance and say, look, I moved on to greener pastures. I'm in the playoffs. You're not. You needed me. I didn't need you. I'm better than you. Watch me show you how much better than you that I am. And you got dunked on. The crowd kind of booed, kind of cheered, which, again, what's your beef with Jimmy? This is what I put. So I put this on my Twitter. The video's not gonna play, but for people who don't know what this video clip is, this was when Drake was on his gambling website or whatever, and he tried to swipe his credit card to, I guess, buy coins or more money, chips, whatever. I'm not a gambler, as you can tell. I don't even know the terminology. But the card got declined, and he goes, embarrassing. And that's exactly what Jimmy's performance in Miami was. Embarrassing. And we're not done talking about Jimmy Butler by any means, because I have Zach and Brandon joining me. And as you know, Zach and Brad. I'm thinking Zach and Brandon in my head from upstairs. It's a long story. I'll explain it later. As you know, Brad is a diehard Warriors fan. So I'm interested to see how he feels today after Jimmy talking all that mess and not given any results. Zach was actually at the game with Brandon, which is why I was thinking of Brandon. We're going to get his insight about exactly what was going on at the FTX Arena. But until then, we're going to take a quick break and be right back. Welcome back to the show, everybody. And as promised, I have my guests with me. You've seen their faces before. We got Zach, we got Brad, and this is going to be interesting because they're on two different sides of the spectrum. Now, as you know, Zach and I don't really have any skin in the game because we have a Magic fan. I am a Knicks fan. Although maybe I do have skin in the game because Knicks fans hate Heat fans. So by byproduct, I was rooting for the Warriors and they failed me miserably. But Brad here has the most skin in the game because he is a Warriors fan and he he was very high on Jimmy Butler coming to Golden State. And I'm sure you were loving all the sound bites that Jimmy was like breadcrumbing.
Pat Riley better not talk to me.
Well, Pat Riley doesn't have to talk to him because Jimmy Butler didn't show up.
They sure
and
didn't.
Leading up to the game, I kind of alluded to it in my opening monologue. We all saw the game. The Miami Heat absolutely stomped the Golden State Warriors, who were without Steph Curry. But we're going to dive more into what Jimmy Butler said and did leading up to this game. And one of those things was referring to his former team as, listen to this.
Jimmy, you curious what kind of reception you get?
Not really. It don't make me no difference. I'm a member of the Golden State Warriors. I love that fan base. They showed me a lot of love while I was there. But I'm there to win now. I'm on the opposing team.
When you look back at your career in Miami, how would you categorize what the team was able to do while you were there?
We was all right. We didn't win nothing like we were supposed to. So, I don't know. We made some cool runs. We had some fun. I think that's all we did.
We made some cool runs. We had some fun. That's all we did. And it didn't stop there. He spoke to The Athletic, and he said that he doesn't mind, quote, being the bad guy over there. He said, you can paint a picture that is not entirely true. I didn't even need to get into that. They know what they're doing. You got to paint somebody to be the bad guy. I'll take being a bad guy. Makes no difference. I'm here now. I'm competing at a high level and helping the Golden State Warriors win. They want me here. Hell, I'm cool with being a bad guy over there. Didn't even say the team name, just said over there. Seeing how he was breadcrumbing all these different sound bites, which were phenomenal. I live for NBA drama and I love this. But then the time came, Brad, for your man to do work. And he didn't do no work. So what happened?
2 points in the first half. By the time he showed up, kind of got it going a little in the third quarter. There was like some hope. Maybe they'll get it going. They were down 17, like way too late. We could get into the basketball parts of this. He's like a super methodical player, sometimes to the point of a fault. And when too much passivity, it kind of goes overboard. And that happened with the Heat last night. He just was not ready to crank the juice up without Stephen Curry. And then it was just too late, too quick. But yeah, these breadcrumbs from Jimmy, he always tries to make it sound like he doesn't care by dropping just a little bit. Yeah. But he's dropping like the exact right words for a little to say a lot. You know, who knows the real story of how it went down with him and Pat Riley? And I'm sure there's always two sides to the story. Two things.
I can't wait for like the Last Dance type documentary about this.
But no one cares enough about the Heat. There's not going to be there's no Last Dance.
Pat Riley will absolutely get like some documentary in the future where he spills like all his biggest secrets.
But we're not checking for that. We're not.
Yeah, I'm talking about when LeBron was trying to get Spoelstra fired and like Jimmy Butler. The two things that stick out to me about his comments are they were way more than way more. 2 finals runs in 4 years, right?
Yeah.
Basically 5 years.
And an eighth seed, the first eighth seed to go all the way to the NBA Finals.
A play-in team.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the word supposed to win. We didn't win what we were supposed to win. They were not supposed to win anything. They were supposed to be bums. They were in terms of overachieving relative to their roster and expectations, they played better and achieved more than probably any team in the league, even the teams that won the title.
But maybe in that year where they were the eighth seed to go on and face Denver. But I would say in previous years, Jimmy Butler got there because they were supposed to win at some point. I think they had better rosters.
He'd always say that.
Well, yeah,
but everybody said there's like second tier maybe. Butler's not enough. I remember being at the press conference when Butler came to the first year and Pat Riley was like, we expect to win now. And at that time, Russell Westbrook was out there. There was all these other moves and people were like, dude, he ain't enough. Yeah. Like, he came in to make you... Everyone was kind of laughing at the Heat. Like, they refuse to sort of cash in on tanking. They're sort of staying on this treadmill of mediocrity. That's what everybody thought of them. Like, Butler will make them a little bit better. They were a 5 seed. They were a play-in seed. Then they go to the finals, and he's going toe-to-toe with the best players with LeBron. Yeah. He's overtaking the Celtics. Like, It was way more than anyone expected.
Zach, I mean, you were in the building with Brandon, our very own Brandon from right here at CBS. What were the vibes like? Because there were some boos, there were some cheers. The Miami Heat strategically did Jimmy Butler's video at the very beginning.
Real quick. It was a blink and you missed the tribute.
And you know that doing it during player introductions, I have seen some tribute videos happen at halftime. I've seen them at various points of a game. But doing a Miami Heat tribute video for Jimmy Butler during player introductions is strategy, and I will tell you why. Because no one ever shows up to these games on time.
Yep.
So it's a half-empty arena.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So nobody even saw the tribute video. So I commend the Miami Heat for being just as petty. But what were the vibes like?
I first am coming from a place like I hate the Heat. I cannot stand.
Do the Magic and the Heat have beef? Or?
No, so I think it's from me being from Florida, going to the University of Florida, knowing a lot of people who are Heat fans.
Why'd you put it in quotes like that?
Because I don't think that the Heat have a true, real fan base.
And
especially
like my dad.
when they
the half going to a club.
Yeah, when they make the playoff runs, it's like, oh, you're a Heat fan. You're now tweeting about it. I didn't know that. I've been here rooting for my team game 1, and now you're showing up game 85 of the playoffs. Like, so I'm coming from a place like I don't even like being in the arena when it's for the Heat purposes. I show up for the other team. I'll say the Warriors without Steph is a boring watch. That was awful. But the fans, every time Jimmy Butler touched the ball, it was like boos and boos. It's like, okay, like y'all are winning, just enjoy it. But you could tell that people wanted to act like they were the villains and hated him for the sake of like, that's fun to do tonight.
Exactly.
I don't think they really feel this way. Like even my Uber driver who drove me home.
Not you getting your takes off with your Uber driver.
No, he brought it up because he knew I was leaving from the arena, and he's like, oh, so what do you think about the Heat? And he thought I was a fan, so he's coming to me talking like he's a Heat fan from the jump, and he's like, yeah, man, I can't stand that guy. I can't believe he did it. I said, well, I don't think we're ever going to learn what really happened. Like, I'm sure there's another side to it that if people heard it, all the people who like to act like they hate Jimmy Butler would be like, okay, I can see why you wanted to leave. Maybe I don't like the way that you went about leaving, but like, I can get it. So like, I'm rocking with it.
I think the thing for me that was interesting was I understand Jimmy's disdain for Pat Riley. I can understand his disdain for Eric Spoelstra even. I can even understand the disdain for the front office and, they're the decision makers. But my thing that kind of threw me was, why was Kevin Love the only player that you showed, no pun intended, love to? Like, what did Tyler Hero do to you? What did the rest of the guys on the roster do to you? You left the game immediately after it ended, didn't even shake hands with any of your former teammates, didn't look over that bench once during warm-ups, didn't even acknowledge them. My thing is, like, they don't decide who comes and goes. Like, they were just along for the ride. That was a little weird for me.
He's playing the role. I mean, this thing is sort of, there's a part of this whole thing with Jimmy Butler that's an act. Like, now it's like, don't talk to me, Pat Riley, you're my sworn enemy for life.
I can get that, though. I understand that.
Why? Because he was paying him $48 million to play basketball?
Hey, I can understand the disdain for Pat Riley more than I can understand the disdain for his teammates.
But I don't know. That's what I mean. I don't think he has disdain for the teammates. I think he's playing the role in that moment. Like, I'm the focused soldier. These are the old guy. I'm not with them anymore. I think it's choreographed to some degree. It'd be very hard for me to imagine that he hates all those guys. I just don't believe that. What's funny is Kevin Love was a guy that was clown chronicling him the whole time.
That was fun, though. That was so fun.
That was the best part of the whole thing. Kevin Love was like, he brought some comic relief to it. It was tremendous.
You saw the post he did where it was like Forrest Gump, and it was just like him running through the town and not speaking to anybody.
Yeah.
Like, run, Forrest, run.
It was the best. So, in the end, I just think the insignificance on a grand scheme, and maybe Butler is sort of self-aware about this when he said that we didn't do that much. I mean, if I would argue to my death that they did way more than anybody expected, but in the grand scheme of things, nobody really remembers a team that made a run to the finals and lost. Like, they didn't make a huge dent. And maybe he realized that. I think it was epitomized. You talked about the tribute thing. Yeah, they waited to the last minute, but like, those things are always before game. It's not like they were gonna...
I've seen them at halftime sometimes.
Really?
Yeah, I think Klay Thompson's actually, they waited until that arena was full.
Because Klay deserves it. Like Jimmy Butler hasn't done enough.
I think they did it at like the first commercial break of the game.
I don't know that.
Yeah.
But yeah, the bottom line is, even the people that were in the stands, this thing was such an I don't care reception. There were still plenty of people. I mean, you're hearing like scattered boos. My daughter went to a Taylor Swift concert a couple of years ago, and she sent me video of the opening act. I think it was Paramore. And there's like a quarter of the arena, people are still walking around. They're getting their stuff. They don't care about I hate to say it, but Jimmy Butler is sort of like an opening act type thing. He's not a guy that you stop the arena for. Klay Thompson, everybody get in your seats. Tribute goes up. It's just not that. And so maybe he's self-aware enough to know that I didn't make that kind of impact, and it was epitomized to a degree. Even though they're always a late arriving crowd, there was still people in the stands, and they couldn't have cared less.
Yeah.
Well, you had to hear a few distant boos.
You were there, Zach. I know that you and I both wanted a different outcome, being Heat haters crowd. But it was a lot of buildup and not a lot of return. But so is life. Anyway.
Let's worry more about my Warriors. We're falling out of the playoffs.
You'll be fine. You'll be good.
We'll talk about the Warriors at another time. But after this break, we're actually going to talk about the Milwaukee Bucks. Some breaking news coming out of that organization. And apparently, Doc Rivers, the gift that keeps on giving, wants more respect for blowing 3-1 leads.
This is too good.
I don't understand. We'll talk about that in a second. Welcome back to Triple Threat. Ashley here, Zach here, Brad here. And before the break, I teased some news coming out of the Milwaukee Bucks organization. Doc Rivers, of course, the gift that keeps on giving. But first, breaking news, Damian Lillard has sustained a deep vein thrombosis, which is a blood clot in his right calf. Lillard currently is on blood thinning medication, which has stabilized the blood clot and will continue to get regular testing, but he is out indefinitely. Big news, devastating news for the Milwaukee Bucks. Currently are number 5, or in the 5th seed rather, in the Eastern Conference. Obviously, when you take Lillard out of the lineup, you realize just how thin this roster is outside of Giannis and Dame. So this is going to be a huge hit for what they ultimately want to do, and that is make a deep run in the playoffs. But as we know, blood clots are no joke. It ended Chris Bosh's career. We know Wemby also is dealing with one, I believe, in his shoulder. And you have to treat this accordingly. You can't rush the process. You have to figure out what the right approach is. And Damian Lillard has a lot of young kids, and he needs to be okay and healthy for them. And that's what he kind of said in his statement to Chris Haynes, was like, look, I love basketball. I can't wait to get back out there, but I have a family I have to consider. So obviously in this segment, we're going to talk more about Doc, but just quick thoughts on Damian Lillard, Zach.
It's just like, I feel like this is the medical side of things that you really have no control over. Like if it's hereditary and you have something with you in your family, like the blood clots, like you mentioned, nothing to play with at all, but it seems that at least they hope that he might be able to be in a spot where he can return and play this season. I feel like this is like the medical side that we really can't even grasp really with us being here on this side of the sports spectrum and everything. You just hope that, okay, I hope that he's well and can just be healthy, and we hope as fans that he can get back to being a player again.
Yeah, there's always these things that pop up, or not always, but when they do, you completely detach from the basketball part of it. You know, I remember like when Karis LeVert was traded to Indiana and they find out he's got cancer. And it's like immediately you sort of like forget about how does it affect the team, forget about career. And this is one of those things, and it seems to be popping up
a lot.
Yeah, more frequently than you would expect. And I know they put out a lot of material about how, you know, being in sitting positions for long periods of time when you're on airplanes as much as these guys are. Now they tend to associate it more with taller people where the blood has to travel further. But yeah, you hear the news and it's like, we've all wanted to talk about, are the Bucks for real? Like, can they sort of like step it up and turn the switch in the postseason? And this just for me sort of ends that chatter, because there's the tangible part of it where like if they don't have Lillard, forget the reason, they really have no chance. But then there's just the other, just way more scary part that you just kind of don't even want to talk about the Bucks in basketball. Yeah.
We'll obviously dive more into the Bucks and all the other teams currently in fight for higher playoff positions or just to crack into the playoff spot when we do a playoff show in a couple of weeks. But we're going to talk about Doc Rivers, my favorite coach, and that's sarcasm.
Why you gotta hate him like that?
Because Doc Rivers just gives me so much material to just come at him. And sometimes it's just like, dude, just stop giving me material. But once again, the gift that keeps on giving. Doc Rivers apparently wants more credit for his blown 3-1 leads. He had this to say about the entire 3-1 narrative that surrounds him. No one tells a real story, and I'm fine with that. It's unfair in some ways. I don't get enough credit for getting the 3 wins. I get credit for losing. I always say, what if we had lost to Houston in 6? No one cares. One of the things that I'm proud of is that we've never been swept. All the coaches have been swept in the playoffs. My teams achieve. A lot of them overachieve, and I'm very proud of that. That is a real quote. I didn't make that up. Just want to make sure I let everybody at home know that much is that is not a constructed quote by me. Let's dive into his playoff history, shall we? Because he wants more credit. We're going to give him more credit because we like facts here.
This is tough.
We're going to go 2003 playoffs with the Orlando Magic. Zach, your Orlando Magic.
Vividly
the number 8 seed. They took 3 of the first 4 contests against the number 1 Detroit Pistons before losing the final 3 games of the series by a combined 61 points. Let's fast forward to 2015, the Western Conference Final semifinals with the Clippers. They held a 3-1 series advantage over the Houston Rockets before blowing that lead.
That was the bad one.
And let's go to 2020. The playoffs once again with the Clippers. They had a 3-1 lead against the Denver Nuggets. They dropped 2 games before finishing with just 89 points in Game 7 as Kawhi and Paul George combined to shoot a mere 10 of 38 from the field. Another fun little factoid for you guys. Right now, currently, he's the only coach in NBA history to experience multiple blown 3-1 leads.
Never been swept.
So, never been swept. Yeah.
Perspective.
Okay.
Yeah. Perspective.
I guess if you're a half glass full.
Glass half full.
Yeah, kind of person. I am not. I'm a pessimist by nature. So, my mom tells me to work on that. Zach, what do you...
So the 2003 is what hurts me. I remember being a 13-year-old. I remember T-Mac, after we went up 3-1, said, "Oh, it feels good to finally get out of the first round of the playoffs." And then
he said that.
Yeah, he did. That was a quote.
Jinx, the player jinx.
And then
we got to talk more about T-Mac.
Mopped up and down the floor from the rest of there. And I am a T-Mac guy. That is my favorite player. And I personally, I've always had love for Doc because I did like what he did with the Magic. I felt like that he kind of brought us to a next level and took us out of the stages where we were bad for a very, very long time. But Doc, what are you doing? Why are you making this quotes? What credit do you want?
Because Doc is a chronic, what's the word? Justifier. That's what I want. Doc Rivers is a chronic justifier. He will always find a justification as to why something did not happen. He did it with the Milwaukee Bucks when he first got there. Oh, we have too many people on the road. Blame the equipment manager of all people.
And he said, I wouldn't want to give this job to anyone. He inherited the toughest. He was already setting himself up to have an excuse. He inherited Damian. Yeah, nobody would want Damian Lillard and Giannis.
He was a sniper from the side to get the job.
Yeah.
The job wasn't what he thought it was, an immediate impact. The team didn't look that great in the beginning, and they've struggled since. And he wants to say there's too many people on the road, and not everybody is taking the game seriously, the road game seriously, and throws the equipment. Bro, I'm just handing out the towels. You gonna leave me out of this. He is a chronic justifier, and it annoys me.
And even if there's truth to, we have to acknowledge that there is nuance to these storylines that we paint on shows like this. It's not that, he went in Game 5 and suddenly forgot how things happen. Paul George didn't shoot well. Whatever, Josh Smith happened when they
injuries, things like that.
When the Hawks or the Rockets got going. So there's always nuance to why teams lose. Steve Kerr isn't getting the same kind of hate for blowing the 3-1 lead against the Cavs because it's we credit LeBron. We talk about the Draymond suspension and Bogut was hurt and Kyrie went crazy. There's always nuance. So it's not just the fact that these things have happened. I'm sure you could dig through the details and see how they happened. And it wasn't all coaching.
But multiple?
Yeah, no. The details in the trends.
It's bad luck.
In the consistency. Typically on the back end of playoff series, it ends up being more about about adjustments. First 3 or 4 games, you figure each other out. Now the coach can make a difference in 5, 6, 7. Those are all the games they're losing. But the optics of it is just what's the worst of it. Nobody in professional sports acknowledges moral victories. Nobody.
Almost only counts in horseshoes. And I think the thing with Doc Rivers that also kind of like blows my mind is that he's still riding the wave of that Boston Celtics championship with one of the greatest teams I think we have ever seen in modern basketball, and has gotten multiple coaching jobs because of that one championship, when everything in his resume since that has been failure.
He has not gotten the best. He didn't get the best out of the Sixers. Couldn't figure out how to make it work with Ben Simmons. He blamed Ben Simmons.
He had the Lob City Clippers.
Then he said it was too hard to coach James Harden. And both of those things can be true. A lot of other coaches would say that. But then he comes to your point, comes to Milwaukee. He said it's going to be tough to coach. He's always giving himself the cushion because he's sort of expecting the fall.
He's a chronic justifier.
I agree with that.
My one thing is, if you want more credit, Doc, what does it look like to get more credit for a 3-1 blown lead? Like, what does that look like?
He probably
good job. You still didn't win the series.
He wants to look up the number of coaches who've gotten 3-1 leads. He wants us to do that. Who's ever gotten up 3-1?
But
he probably thinks he's at the top of some list.
On the other side of that list, you're the only coach to blow multiple 3-1 leads.
We all agree with that.
It's
I think
mind-boggling
everyone
to me.
would agree. Like, I think if you truly had a heart-to-heart and sat down with him and you said, okay, what do you want out of this? Like, what do you want to think? Because at the end of the day, you didn't win these series. So, like, it's a wins and losses league. You didn't win 4 games. You won 3. So what credit can we give you?
And it's not only that. It's like, okay, everybody has a stain on their resume at some point, right? Especially if you're talking about a career that is based in wins and losses and based in results, right? If there had been one blown 3-1 lead, it might have been a running joke when you talk about Doc Rivers or whatever the case may be. But it wouldn't be such a part of him as a coach where you look at him sideways and it's like, no, man, maybe it's you. Like, if it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it's a duck. It's not a kangaroo. It's you. You're the problem.
So Ashley, listen, Steph Curry, there's a stat that's been going around about Steph Curry for a long time that he's like 0 for 14 or something in game-winning shots in the final however many seconds. And every time he misses one, it's the same way every time Doc loses a playoff series, this thing comes out. And it does, in my mind, and everybody can differ on this, but in my mind, it obviously doesn't mean Steph Curry's not clutch. Mm-hmm. And I don't think it means that Doc Rivers is a terrible coach. What it does, it's the optics of it. It would be like Steph Curry coming out and saying, dude, nobody gives me any credit for the shots I made in the third quarter.
Right.
You just don't, you sort of accept the failure, acknowledge it, and say, look, we haven't gotten it done. Nobody says the moral victories count, and it's just not a look that you want from somebody. To your point, the excuse making, sometimes excuses are legitimate, but they just sound like excuses. They don't paint the right picture. They don't give the right message. It's like a guy that sprains his ankle in the final of the U.S. Open, and then afterwards, it's like, that is legitimate. Right. It hurt, but you don't go into the press conference and say, well, I played pretty good for a sprain. You just say, like, I didn't get it done.
When teams lose in the NBA Finals and all of a sudden somebody had an injury.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, oh, so-and-so was playing with a fractured rib. I mean, legitimate, but you didn't mention the fractured rib when you entered the finals.
It's not that the rib's a lie.
Right.
Because nobody says this stuff.
It's a justification. Right.
At the end of the day, nobody cares. Like, I think you can talk all you want, but like we don't care. Did you win or did you lose? That's all that matters.
Yeah. It's, like I said, almost only counts in horseshoes, and we're playing basketball.
Hand grenades.
Doc,
but I do it with the Warriors too. Yeah. I mean, I'm defending that 3-1 blow. I get
it.
It's like, come on, man. I don't want to hear about Steph Curry can't keep a lead.
That was a one-time thing, Doc. You don't get to blow multiple 3-1 leads and then justify why you did it, and then want credit for the games you won before the games that you blew. We're not doing that.
That's the crazy part.
And we're not doing that here. Sorry, Doc. When we come back, we're going to dive a little bit into March Madness and merge it with the NBA, because we have a huge game coming up on CBS Sports Network tomorrow. Arizona, Duke. I don't know how your brackets are looking. Mine has been busted, but I'm enjoying the ride. And we're going to do a little battle of the March Madness squads. I'll explain more after this break. Welcome back, everybody, to Triple Threat. And as I teased before the break, if you are unaware, we are in the middle of the madness. March Madness, that is. And if you filled out a bracket like I did, Zach, you did.
Yeah.
Brad, did you fill out a bracket?
Yeah, I'm busted.
Yeah. We're all busted.
Yeah,
St. John's, why did you do me like that?
St. John's did me
Had
too.
them in the Final Four, man.
That was a mistake.
That was a bit.
I know. Maybe it was
Shouldn't have had them over my Gators.
That was my New York bias. I don't even have the Gators in the Final Four.
Okay, we're going to the Final Four, so I'll be there.
Okay, well.
Are you Florida alum?
Oh, yes.
Oh, and he never lets you forget it.
gonna get nauseating.
Bleed,
Well,
orange and blue.
CBS has a phenomenal game coming up, and that is tomorrow at 9:39 p.m. It is Arizona versus Duke, and it is going to be a great, great matchup. Obviously, we have the number one player in the country, Cooper Flagg, on Duke. We have a very, very deep squad with Arizona, and it had us thinking about NBA alum or these college alums who are currently in the NBA, and we wanted to do a little bit of a squad battle. So let's pull up some notable Duke alum who are currently or were once in the NBA. Let's pull this up here. Look at this squad.
Dude.
I mean,
Forget about it.
This is a squad. Kyrie, JJ, Jason Tatum, Zion Williamson, Grant Hill. The list goes on and on. We have some notable mentions at the bottom. Obviously, there are a lot more. We couldn't name everybody who's part of the Brotherhood. They're just that deep. Let's go to Arizona. Let's see what we got there. All right, Mike Bibby, Gilbert Arenas, Richard Jefferson, Iguodala, Aaron Gordon. And again, we have some notable mentions on the bottom. Steve Kerr. If you had to make a pick, though, squad versus squad.
Oh, this is a boat race. I mean, that Duke squad. I mean, those guys. That's a legitimate squad.
That's a very solid squad.
You put that up on the recruiting wall, and it's like some legit dudes have gone here.
Mike Bibby was cold.
No question. And I love Andre Iguodala, Warriors guy, but that Duke squad.
Give me Iguodala.
I mean, it's unbelievable. That squad, that talent on that squad. I mean, with Kyrie and like Paolo's like an afterthought.
Yeah, that's how crazy
Brandon Ingram, afterthought. Kyrie barely played. The best player at Duke on that list and the best college player I've ever seen, Christian Laettner.
Yeah.
In terms
Still
of his
to this
college
day, you
career.
feel that way?
Huh?
Still to this day?
you feel that
I
way?
do. I he's, to me, in college, is the best player I've seen in college. He was so good. Maybe that's right when I came into fandom.
Yeah.
It was the Fab Five era. And he was so good. He was so skilled. You know, I'm so locked into the NBA, but watching this tournament, you really see the skill drop off in the college.
Hey, Cooper Flagg is him.
Okay, but he's going to be a top NBA player.
Yeah.
I'm talking about 8 or 9 of the 10 guys on the court, and they're great players, great athletes, great players, but the skills just haven't quite developed yet. Laettner, when he was in college, was sticking the jumpers. He had all the feel for the game. He was unbelievable. That Duke squad is crazy.
Who are you leaning towards?
I mean, if anyone says they lean towards Arizona, you're either a family member of somebody that's on that list,
Not
or
a
you're an
family
Arizona
member.
alum. Like anybody. Like if you want to have a real conversation about this, like we would need to put Duke up against like a UNC or someone else, like to make you
or Kentucky.
actually be a conversation. Yeah, or a Kentucky. That is it's unfair. Like Paolo's at the very bottom of the list. Like JJ Redick was amazing in college, and he had a good career in the NBA. Like I wish he would have stuck with my Magic even longer than he did, but this is like not even a competition. It's it's like what are we even saying?
Tatum, Kyrie,
and Kyrie really only played like 3 games for Duke.
5, like
5,
nothing.
He's like a semi Brotherhood member. He's like one toe in, one toe out.
Yeah.
He barely was part of the Brotherhood.
If Arizona was Duke, like Seth Curry would have made Arizona's list.
Yeah, and Seth was great. Hit the shot to be.
So he's a nobody at Duke.
Yeah.
He might make the bottom of that Arizona list.
That's
like
just,
him and Steve Kerr.
That's how deep it is.
I think it also just shows how some programs have kind of withstand the test of time in terms of just continuing to be dominant. And then you see, like back in the day, Arizona was like what Duke is and has been,
and
right?
Arizona's been a top program.
Right. But Duke has just been year after year after year, whereas Arizona's gone up and down. But back in the day, Arizona was cranking them out. Let's not get it confused.
And Duke has had like great talent even still recently.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
You go like Paolo would still be in college right now if he went 4 years. Like you got a Derek Lively Jr. Like there's so many people who
they put that graphic up the other day where like the guys that would still be in school if they stayed, and they'd be playing right now.
Crazy.
I think Zion would Zion be playing?
No, Zion would have been out by now. Hopefully,
I think Paolo would have been a senior.
Derek Lively the second would have been still in.
Oh, yeah, and I'm blanking on the name, but the kid who got hurt for the Sixers, the point guard. Yeah, that's right. So
Maxey?
No.
No.
I don't know why I'm blanking.
I'm actually going to think about it. I know.
Jared McCain. Yes. Jared McCain.
Yeah, they'd all be playing. And that's what we're talking about with Leitner. Like, when the guys stayed, imagine those guys if their skill development in the third and fourth year of their career.
Yeah.
Leitner was unbelievable.
Well, listen, if you want to see how Arizona and Duke match up in this day and age, make sure you tune into CBS Sports right here, CBS Sports Network. That is 9:39 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. March Madness is upon us, baby. And when we come back, we are digging into our social media bag because we had a question for you, and now we got some answers. Welcome back to Triple Threat, everyone, and it is now time for In Your Bag, where I pose a random social media question and we pull out some of the best answers. Now, this season, we had a lot of highs and lows in the NBA, but there were also a lot of major disappointments. So I wanted to know what has been the biggest disappointment so far this NBA season. Let's dive into the bag and see what we got here. Coming up...
That's your dance.
The Mavs trading Luka and ruining the possibility of a finals rematch with the Celtics. I feel like that is a huge disappointment, Zach, and probably one of the biggest shockers of all time.
Yeah, that we've ever seen. Like, if you're a Mavs fan, for sure, I still feel for them. It's like you had all this hope. You're like, okay, man, like we're really gonna like do something. We're gonna get all of our pieces and be good to go and like start to click like they were, and then you just pull the rug. Like, it still doesn't make sense. Like, it just.
I'm glad.
And we've talked about it.
I'm glad that this came up because most of these stories, the 24-hour news cycle, they cycle through. This story cannot. We have to keep talking about this
for years.
It's so ridiculous. It's so bad.
I was at a Mavs game recently, and they were playing the Grizzlies, and there was this guy in a Luka jersey, a Slovenia Luka jersey, and the entire second half, all he did was scream "Fire Nico" and put in Luka. Like, those fans are still very much depressed, and I get it. I feel for you. I hope that
all the injuries afterward. Like,
it's the weirdest.
I don't believe in I don't want to believe in karma, but like I believe in curses. Franchise might be done. This
the curse of the Bambino.
Yeah, no, I know.
I'm just saying
it's that bad.
I'm just saying
that would usually be hyperbole.
I'm just saying
that would usually be hyperbole, but. I think they traded Babe Ruth.
I'm just saying.
I think they traded Babe Ruth. I do. I think they traded Babe Ruth.
Their version of Babe Ruth.
I do.
Well, only time will tell, but I said this after the trade happened.
They probably said
this
like I said before. I think the Red Sox probably said the same thing about Babe Ruth. He's overweight.
And he drinks too much.
He don't take care of himself.
And then look what happened. All right, let's dive into the bag again. What do we have here? Kyrie tearing his ACL killed it for me. I don't care to watch no more until next year. That was hard. I'm a big Kyrie Irving fan. Like we said, when the going gets tough, the tough gets going. And another cliche, when it rains it pours. And Dallas is just hit after hit after hit. But I love Kyrie Irving, so that was a big L for me too.
Like, injuries, they just suck. Like, I still am not over Juju Watkins tearing her ACL. And it's like, it's just not, like, you don't want to see it. Like, when someone's playing at such a high level, like where Kyrie was, like, I felt like finally, collectively, the people were getting to a spot where they didn't hate Kyrie anymore, and it was just a appreciation for his game.
The real ones never hated Kyrie.
Oh, I never did either. But it seemed like that others were finally coming around like, oh man, this guy.
He was getting pretty weird.
Doesn't matter. The real ones were always Team Kyrie.
He was a hooper. Like, of course. Regardless, he was still a hooper. But people were taking like the off the court stuff and not liking the on court wizardry that he has. And to see him go away,
well, I'm curious like, these things, injuries, it's tough for me to call. They are disappointing. That you can't attach that word to it, but they're more just like bummers. You know, like, I need somebody to bring up the Sixers. Is one of the,
we're going to see. Let's dive into the bag again. Do we have a Sixers tweet here? Drum roll. The Nuggets, quote, in quotations, the eye test.
Come on. Disappointing. They could be the 2 seed. They got the best player in history.
Right now, the Rockets are the 2 seed. I don't know. Maybe it's that they're failing the eye test for some
I think they are because, in my mind,
I don't know if I would say disappointment.
I'm not saying they're the favorite. Like, it's granted still early. We're still not even done with the regular season, but I can get what's being said by the eye test because they have been a little bit disappointing. Like, they don't seem like a power
a powerhouse,
especially in the West. They don't give that feel the same way what I've said about the Celtics. They don't feel like it's like, okay, yeah,
but a
disappointment
dogs. Though, like.
Yeah, if you still have basically your same exact roster, more or less,
that's part of the reason.
You still have your core. You're not showing it to me like I feel like I should see from a Jokic-led team.
I just feel like disappointment is a stretch only because coming into the season, it's not like they were the favorite. Yeah, it was the Celtics or OKC.
I think they're actually like doing better than people thought. Last year, when they lost their bench. And they lost KCP. And it was like, we're going to have to bump Bron into the starting lineup.
Everyone thought they were washed.
Everyone thought Russell Westbrook was washed. Everyone had kind of, even out just that one year, they had pretty much said Jamal Murray had the terrible Olympics. It was, I don't think people expected much. Now, like I said, pretty sure they're tied in the loss column for a second seed. I don't think you can put disappointment next to the Thunder or to the Nuggets at all. Everyone thought the Thunder would be the best team.
Yeah.
And they might be the second best team.
Well, let's see if we got the 76ers in the mix. Dig into the bag again.
Please.
Here we go. Anything 76ers related. Who remembers Trust the Process? Well, many years later, it's clearly over. Oh, wait, can we go back? Can we go back? I was reading that. Sorry. I wasn't done reading that. It was clearly over, and Embiid is closer to done than leading that team to a championship.
Just a conference final. Let's get a conference finals.
Yeah, I mean, the process in Philly definitely is a disaster. It was looking bright in various spots for various years, and it just all went to hell.
Long live Hinkie. Like he put him in position. He got him in beat. Simmons was supposed to be Simmons. He put him in position. When they had that first playoff run, I was down at the games in Miami. They were on their way. When they had Redick, and they were ready to go. Mm-hmm. And it looked like we were going to be seeing this team and Embiid and Simmons together at the top. I don't know that you could argue the process didn't work. And
then Tobias Harris over Jimmy. It
started falling apart right there. And then they tried to throw a $200 million Band-Aid on it this year with Paul George, and it has gone to hell. They were already thinking about trading him at the trade deadline.
Yeah.
Embiid's never going to be healthy again. You're never going to be able to trust him. This thing's over. It's over like the Mavericks. They were supposed to be.
Sad.
They were supposed to be, right? They were supposed to be, we've gone over the edge now. We're going to be with the Celtics. And they're going to the lottery. They're by far the biggest disappointment of the year.
Zach, I'm going to give you this one coming up. All right, let's dig into the bag with our last one here. The Suns, easily. So much of the Sixers' failure can be attributed to injuries, which is disappointing for sure, but compare that to the Suns, who just genuinely imploded. Team with Durant and Booker that won 49 games last year, fighting for the 10th seed. That's disappointing.
And this one doesn't even make sense because also the third member of that team being Brad Beal, Florida Gators, shout out. I'm a big fan of his. And I thought that, KD is so good. Book is so good. And Beal is a solid player, but he has not been like a top 3 guy on that team anymore. I don't know. Grayson Allen's not shooting the 3 as well as he did last year. Like you switch up your coaching staff. Maybe that's what it is. And they just can't connect and figure out how to win and how to play. I honestly could see an argument to be made that the Suns are a bigger disappointment than the Sixers, because I think that I expect more from KD. Yeah, the Suns are a bigger. I expect more from KD than I do from Joel Embiid. I just do.
But plus, I think that whoever wrote in with this, and I actually was just swayed in your argument, and whoever wrote in, it's true. I think the Sixers were going to be a disappointment with Paul George, even minus the injuries, but the injuries have gotten their way. Mm-hmm. The Suns have had their squad for the most part, and they just flat out haven't been good. So.
Yeah. And unfortunately for the Phoenix Suns, they followed a very antiquated formula when it comes to building a team, top heavy and not much else. And that's just not the way you win in the NBA anymore.
Right. That's a good point.
Well, guys, look, we are less than a month away from the NBA playoffs. So expect a lot more triple threat, a lot more conversations just like we had today. We're getting close. But if you missed a minute of today's show, don't worry, we got you covered. You can scan this QR code and catch the full episode on YouTube, and make sure you keep it locked with us next week, because we will be back with a brand new episode, and you never know who will roll up. Maybe Zach will come and he'll sing us a song. Maybe Brad will have a Warriors jersey on, maybe a Jimmy Butler one. You never know what's going to happen at Triple Threat, and make sure you don't miss it. Until then, bye guys.